All right, I'm going to ask you everything, even though you're sitting in the gallery, anybody that's sitting in the gallery, you can be heard, and this is starting to record. So I'm just gonna ask everybody until it's your time to testify, just to please try to be as quiet as possible. My name is Gladys Oyola Lopez. I'm the city clerk for the city of Springfield. I also, as a result, am the chair of the Animal Advisory and Hearing Committee for the city of Springfield. Today is August 2nd. And I'm calling to order the meeting. Prior to the meeting, I just like a few housekeeping things. The Animal Advisory and Hearing Committee was established and is conducted in accordance to Chapter 110, subsection 9 of the city ordinances. Please be aware that you will be testifying under oath. Each party will be given 10 minutes to state their case, and after each party states their case, they will be given an additional 5 minutes for rebuttal. We ask that you please not interrupt the other parties, as you will be given ample time to talk. In many cases, we understand that there is a history. You may briefly speak to the history. However, we ask that you focus on the incident at hand. During each case, the committee members will be having open deliberation. During this discussion, the public may not participate. If the members have additional questions, they will address the participants at that time. The participants can respond. The committee will render a decision in open meeting. Today, we have representatives from the Thomas J. O'Connor, which are sitting at the table, Officer Renee Robichaud, Director Lori Swanson. And they're here and they serve as strictly an advisory role, so they're not voting members. Additionally, we have Attorney Robert Shuchuk here. He is here in an advisory capacity as well from the city of Springfield and from the city solicitor's office. I'm going to be taking a roll call of the members present. Councilor Melvin Edwards.
Present.
Present. Officer Keith Fleming. Absent. Veronica Johns. Can you unmute yourself, Veronica? Yeah.
Okay, I'm present.
Present.
Present, and myself, Gladys Oyola, present. The only item on the agenda at this moment is a dangerous dog hearing for 115 Bulat Drive. The hearing is now open, and what I'm going to ask to do is anyone that's here to testify either on behalf or against, I'm going to have you raise your hands. If you're virtual, if you're going to testify, I'm going to ask you each to state your name. And then when you're present, I'm also going to ask you each to state your name and your address. And then I'll swear you in at a time and then call you one at a time. That's okay. So I'll start with anybody here first, present in person.
Deborah Place, present.
And your address?
125 Bulat Drive, Springfield. I am attorney Kimberly Sudnick at the Heenan Law Firm, and Old Mail goes to 999 Asylum Ave in Hartford, Connecticut, where it's scanned in, and I read it in my Springfield office. I'm here representing Deborah Place, and I can ask her some questions when the time comes.
Thank you. And I see Jabari Finney.
Yes, present.
And your name and address, please.
Jabari Finney, 115 Bulat Drive.
Okay. And under Walnut.
I'm Suanna Acevedo, 115 Bulat Drive.
Thank you. So I'm going to ask all of you, do you declare and affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth? Yes.
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 Thank you. So I'm going to call Deborah Place first.
Shouldn't the PGO members do a brief? It's your lights. Is that, I thought that was how the.
I could do a statement that helps.
Actually,
I'm sorry, I just thought that we had agreed that the TGO would just do a brief synopsis of why they're here.
okay.
Then that it's your turn, and that it's, yeah.
Oh, please sit.
Yeah, no, you can
Just
say,
sit
yeah,
there.
yeah.
Not very complicated. Where, yeah, but she's in take it.
I can see what you're doing. Well, we want to do it.
Yeah, I'm just remove there.
Oh,
That's the history would be with us.
yes, and just so that's, I guess, to. Even though they're not gonna ask them, I think we're.
I'm Renee Robichaud, Animal Control Supervisor. So we received the hearing request on April 18th, which is well within the 30 days allowed from the incident in question. Our history with this address is relatively brief. In November of 2022, we did receive a barking dog complaint at the address. At the time of our arrival, the dog was indoors and not barking. And the dog was current on its license and rabies vaccination. The dog was described as Memphis, a 1-year-old black schnauzer. And then on April 11th, which is the date of the incident in question, we received a call from the Springfield Police Department alleging a dog bite at the address of, well, it just gives the address where the dog lives, but at the address of 125 Gillette Drive. The neighbor was scratched by a dog that was loose and jumped up on her. And our officer filled out the bite report. Basically stating Memphis got loose through his fence and jumped up on this place, resulting in a level 1 Dunbar scale wound. The Dunbar scale is an accepted and standardized scale to determine the severity of a bite or incident. A level 1 is usually scratches by claws, or like grazes, like if a dog was mouthing but not putting pressure. They typically don't result in any kind of deep puncture wound, but they might result in scrapes from the movement of the claw or tooth. In Memphis at that time was placed under a 10-day home quarantine to be observed by his family members. At the time, his rabies vaccination was a 3-year that was given in October of 2022, therefore good until October of 2025. And then on April 18th, we received a call. This was while the dog should have been under quarantine in its home or on its property. We received a call that the dog was loose in the yard of this place, but was home upon the arrival of our officers. And at that time, our officer advised this place on the dangerous dog hearing proceedings and how she might request one. And then one last situation was April 29th of this year. We received another complaint that the dog was in this place's yard. On arrival, the dog was already at home. The owner accepted that the dog was loose, and stated that they were working to fix the fence. Since then, we've not received any additional calls to the property.
Okay, because basically, please go ahead.
If I might ask her questions to, as her attorney to testimony, is that acceptable?
Yeah.
Sure, okay. Deborah Place, how long have you lived at Eula Drive in Springfield?
62 years.
62 years, okay. And when is the, how many times has the dog known as Memphis? By the way, did your neighbor own a dog named Memphis?
Yes.
Okay, and to your knowledge, your neighbors' names are what?
Harvey Finney and Susanna Savito.
And it's your understanding that they own and are responsible for Memphis, right?
Yes.
And Memphis is a large black schnauzer?
Yes.
Okay. And when is the first time that he physically attacked you?
I was in my backyard with my little Shih Tzu Bella, and the dog appeared out of nowhere.
What year was this, please?
This was after January of this year. It was
Winter of 2023.
right, and that was the first time, and he had my little dog pinned down on the ground.
When
And
you say pin, just so we're clear, was Memphis making contact with your dog at that
Yes.
time?
yes, yes,
Okay. And was this on your property?
yes, it was in my backyard.
And did Memphis have a leash attached to him at that time?
No,
Okay. And is this the fence, do these photos show the fence that separates your yard from
Yes.
Memphis's yard?
Yes.
Okay. And by the way, these photos were taken shortly after April 11th of 2023. Is that right?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yes.
And I see that there are some boards missing in between your property and their property,
Yes.
right? Okay, and for the record, you already have these photos, right?
Yes, just so that it's noted for the record, the pictures, I've looked at the pictures that
Mhm.
Ms. Police Attorney has submitted on the table here, and all of these have been circulated to the board members and to Attorney Shuchuk as well.
The delivery video, everything that was.
Yes.
Okay, and you have the video too. All right. So the first time you were describing the first attack, which was in January of 2023, it occurred on your property. Memphis was not leashed. He pinned down your dog, making contact with your dog. And then what happened next?
I tried to pick up my dog, and that's when he started like jumping on me.
And did he actually
Forcefully.
make contact with you?
Yes, he
Okay.
did.
And just the members, everyone present has seen the video, has seen the size of the dog in comparison with Deborah Place. The video shows the dog's arms up on her shoulder. It's quite tall and large. And do you have an opinion as to the weight of that dog, by the way?
I absolutely have no idea. I know the dog is very, very big and solid through the middle.
Okay, so it jumped on you in January of 2023. Did you report the incident to anybody?
No, I did not.
Okay, and did you have medical treatment for it?
No, I did not. I was not hurt. I was just stunned at that time.
Okay,
I was
understand.
just getting my dog up, trying to get my dog up.
And was there another time before April 11th that Memphis went on your property?
Yes, it was, April 11th was a Tuesday, and it was the prior Thursday that I had taken my dog out my back porch door, and we were almost halfway out to the middle of my yard when I turned around and I saw the dog coming charging at us. And I tried so hard to get my little dog back into the house.
Just to be clear, did Memphis cross into your backyard?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
and at the time when Memphis, this is the black schnauzer, crossed into your backyard, did he have any leash attached to him?
No,
Okay, was there any owner or keeper present?
no,
And you're certain that it was the dog Memphis, your neighbor's dog?
yes.
And that's because you can recognize him and identify him, right?
Yes.
Okay, continue, what happened next?
So I tried to get my little dog back onto the porch, which I did. In the meantime, Memphis just kind of pushed me down, so I tripped up 2 cement steps and was like lying in my doorway while he was on top of my little dog. And like I said, he is like solid, big like this.
When you say he was pushing on you with
Like-
paws,
Yeah, he kind of just mowed me like right over as I was trying to get into my porch.
okay,
And I kind of just fell inside my porch.
and did Memphis go inside your porch?
Yes, physically inside my porch on top of my dog Bella.
So basically, he knocked you over.
Yes.
As you're trying to flee and get into your home to
Right.
safety.
Right.
Okay, and you did not report that incident,
No, I did not.
and you did not have medical treatment for that incident.
I did not need medical treatment for that incident.
Okay, now let's move to April 11th. On April 11th, what happened?
I was outside. I was doing laundry. It was a nice day. I was doing my laundry. I hung up a blanket. I went to pick up my jerseys, my tops off the line, and the dog came in it. And I did not hear any dog out there, and the dog came outside. jumped on the side of their fence and was barking at me, and
This is Memphis, right?
this was Memphis.
And by the way, Memphis's head, when the dog barks at you, is the dog capable of putting his paws up to the
Yes.
top of the fence?
Yes, he barks and he puts his paws over the fence.
So when he's barking at you with this, and you actually have a photo of it on your phone, right? Of
Yes,
him.
I do.
Okay, so his head is above the top of the fence,
Right.
and are there missing boards in the fence?
There's a missing board right now on the side of the fence. where I
On
have-
April 11th, when this incident occurred, were there missing boards?
I believe so.
Yes, okay. And did Memphis on April 11th go onto your property?
Yes, he did.
And what happened?
He just was jumping on me, and I started screaming. And I was trying to get away from him, he kept on pouncing and pouncing on me.
Okay, this is a photo of what body part?
That's on the back.
Of your left
there.
shoulder.
Yes, I was trying to turn so he wouldn't get the front of me.
Okay, and was this done by the dog's mouth or paws?
Pause, I believe.
Okay, and these two photos fairly inaccurately show the bruising as a result of Memphis attacking you on
Yes,
April
those bruises came up the day after.
11th. Okay. And this bruise is on your back, is that right?
My back and my lower back.
And there's another bruise on your lower back, and there appears to be marks above it as well. And I'm gonna circle all three with marks. All right, well, I'm gonna point. This is a mark done by Memphis.
Yes.
This is a mark done by Memphis. How about these? Are these marks done by Memphis?
Yeah, they
Okay.
look like scratches.
All right, now, these first two photos are of your left shoulder, correct?
Yes,
And was there a time when he jumped on your right shoulder?
yes, he was jumping all over me, and
Okay.
even I have bruises down
Down on your
my
hip there?
side. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
and
and
is
my
this,
arm, my
okay,
right arm.
and this was done by Memphis's paws? Okay.
Yes,
We just looked at photos that show the back of your arms and hip marks. This photo here continues to show the back, is that right? All right, closer up of the right.
yeah, probably, yeah.
Now, this one shows something new. This looks like more than paws. This is either teeth or nails doing a long scratch. Is that fair to say?
I believe it's spots,
Okay,
and he was beaming me off the back.
when you say beating, kind of like punching.
Pouncing me.
Okay, let the record show she's doing a pouncing action with her hands. And is this long line from the back of his paw? I'm sorry. Is this long? I just want to get through this because we have a 10-minute. Please forgive me. So this is a line on the back done by the dog's claws, right? Okay, these are marks on the front of your right arm. Are these teeth or are these paw marks?
Onwards.
Okay, and this appears to be scratches. Okay, and this is more towards the front of your arm, right? Okay, and this is more towards the front of your arm, right? And these marks were done by Memphis on April 11th. Okay,
Yes,
and did you seek medical treatment as a result of
Yes, I
this
did.
attack? And where did you go for medical treatment?
I went to my primary care doctor,
Okay, that-
Dr. Gino Mercadante.
and that's at Ludlow Medical Center, right? Okay, and how many times have you seen him so far for this?
2 times.
Okay, and did he send you for x-rays?
Yes,
Okay, by the way, this incident occurred on April 11th. When did you get an appointment to see Dr. Mercadante, did you say?
yes, it was the next day I went right in. They took me right in.
Okay, and when did you call him? The day of the incident? or the-
Yes.
So
Mhm.
you called your primary care physician after the attack took place on April 11th, and did it take place in the early afternoon on April 11th?
I believe it was like maybe 12:30, 1 o'clock-ish.
And what time did you get into your primary care physician the next
The
day?
next morning, I believe it was 10 o'clock.
So within 24 hours, you got a good primary care physician. And then you had some physical therapy at ATI,
Yes,
and you started that in June,
yes,
and your injuries are to what body parts?
my neck and my back.
Okay, and neck, back, and shoulders where you have scratches, correct? Okay, just,
Okay.
with regard to what remedy you're seeking
Excuse
today?
me.
Yep.
Yeah. 10 minutes,
We're
so,
10
okay,
minutes, our
yeah.
10 minutes. are
Yeah.
gone.
Do you want to know what remedies you want?
I'll give
You
you,
have a little leeway on that, right?
yeah, well, I'm gonna time you, and I'm
Okay.
allow for them to have an
Mhm.
extra minute as well, yeah?
Okay, just to be clear, you're not asking for their dog to be held somewhere while the fence is being repaired.
No,
Okay, what you're asking is, under the statute, you're asking for, chapter 110, section 10, subsection 3. B as in boy, number 1, number 2. And number 5, to the extent that they have to fix the fence, but she's not requiring the dog to be quarantined outside its home. She just would like to know that the fence is secure and have someone inspect it to make sure that it's secure.
thank you.
Okay, I'm not sure if Mr. Finney's gonna go first. Or Miss Acevedo.
I will go now.
Okay.
I will say that I only have a few things to say. My wife was present for it, so she would definitely be able to go more into detail. And I also would like to state again what was said at the beginning, that this is all under oath. You know, a lot of things that are being said are not factual. There was never three incidents where my dog attacked her. You know, at the time of the incident, he was only a puppy. Yes, he is a really big dog, but at the time he wasn't even a year old. So if he was a 10-pound Chihuahua, you know, he would have been attempting to jump on her the same exact way. But being that he is so big, you know, and I'm not saying that he didn't scratch her, he didn't cause any scratches, but again, the one time that incident happened, that he got through the fence and actually went over there and jumped on her, my wife was present for it. My wife seen it. She was there outside with him when it happened and tried to get him over. And it's kind of hard for me to believe that 2 other incidents of my dog going over there and attacking her or her dog happened and we would have not known about it, because police have been called for barking, animal control have been called for barking, but you wouldn't call or report that for an attack. I mean, that's pretty hard to believe, you know. I even have video evidence on my phone of me, you know, confronting about, why are you calling police on a dog barking? There's dogs all in the neighborhood barking, but for some reason, my dog is the one that bothers, you know. And then I know you said, you know, to keep it on topic, but I think it is very important to note the history between me and Mrs. Place. You know, we have been living Lot Drive for 3 years now. Not one time has she ever spoken to us, welcomed us to the neighborhood, said anything to us. I have 4 little girls who are biracial. They're half black, half Puerto Rican. And these little girls all went up to Miss Place, screaming in her face, hi, how are you, hi. They're little kids. And she completely ignored them. She completely ignored them, act as if they weren't there, you know. So there's a lot of history that's being built up into this, and then there's a lot of non-factual things that are being put in to make it seem a lot worse than what it actually is. You know, I don't believe that it should be considered a dog attack. You know, I do understand that he's big, he's strong, he does have sharp nails. We take him every 10 weeks to get him, you know, cut and bathed. And it was a case where the fence was, we didn't know how bad the fence was. We didn't know how severe it is. And the way that the fence is facing, when he runs and kind of like presses up against the fence, I'm guessing it started to break a little bit, and we had no idea that the fence was broken. Otherwise, we would have we would have been taking care of it, or we would have been monitoring him outside. But other than that, to be honest, I don't really have a whole lot more to say about that incident. My wife was present, and my wife will be able to speak a little bit better on that.
Thank you, Ms. Acevedo.
Hello. So the fence is an old fence. and it had rained a few days before the incident had rained, and because it was an old fence, every time it rains, the fence gets soft, and Memphis is heavy, so him putting his paws does weigh down the fence and does cause it to chip and break, which now the fence is repaired. We got it repaired I believe the same night that incident happened, April 11th. That panel that had that crack or that hole in it got replaced. That day I was washing dishes, watching Memphis out of my backyard, and he ran out like he normally does, and he was barking because she was hanging up some laundry to dry, and I noticed, I'm like, okay, if he's barking, it's because she's got to be on her side. So I went over closer to him to tell him to quiet down. She looked over at me and she said, you need to control your dog, is what she said to me. And I said, he's not doing anything. He's barking because he sees somebody there. And he's still on our side. When she turned to talk to me, he got very excited. Memphis has a lot of puppy behavior. And he overly greets. We took him to get a consultation to put him in training school. And the trainer told us, come when he's a little bit over a year, because he has a lot of puppy behavior right now. It's gonna be a waste back when all this happened. So because she turned to look at me, I think he thought she was talking to me and knew me and was interacting with me. So he went through the hole and he put his 2 paws on her and he started to try to play with her. As soon as he put his paws on her, she started screaming, he's attacking me, help, help, he's attacking me. And the fence, I had recently had surgery, so I couldn't move as fast as I was trying to get him back to over my side. So I just kept like, ma'am, he's not attacking you. He's actually trying to play with you. He's not barking. He's not growling. He's not biting you. I said, he's not showing no form of aggression. He's literally trying to play with you. But she just kept screaming, he's attacking me, help, help. And I took a deep breath because I have all this stuff all over me from all my surgery. And I forced myself through the hole to grab him down by his leash. And I said, Memphis, stop. She doesn't want to play with you right now, honey. She's not playing with you. You got to come back. And then she's like, this is ridiculous. I'm calling animal control and the cops on you. He just attacked me. And I said, do what you have to do. If that's what you feel that needs to be done. But he didn't attack you. He didn't show no forms of aggression, no biting, no nothing. He does jump on people. Like I said, that's one of the things that I addressed at the consultation with the trainer. And he said he overly greets. That's what they call it. He does. I have 4 children, all from the age of 10 to the age of 1 year old. They ride him like a horse. They pull on his tail. Neighbors have played with him in the neighborhood, kids, and Memphis has never bitten anybody. He barks a lot because it's part of his breed. But other than that, he's never showed any signs of aggression. The 2 times that she's claiming Memphis attacked her and her dog, that is, I can't even believe that is even that's being brought up today, because that has never been brought up to me or my husband. Which she's called the cops and animal control on us as simple things as him barking. So I don't understand why she wouldn't call them if he attacked her those other 2 times. She's called animal control on us probably 3 or 4 times. And she's called, so any conversation we've had with her, she's always threatened to call the cops on us. So we even try to limit our conversations with her because I just don't know why. She just does not get along with us. She never has. But again, I have 4 kids, 4 daughters that bother the heck out of Memphis. And if he was aggressive, he would have bit one of my children, would have attacked them by now. As a matter of fact, if she has pictures and videos she should also show pictures and videos of how she used to, before the incident, stand over my fence and try to pet my dogs. So again, dogs do have memory. And so if he saw her on that side of the fence, he probably thinks that it was okay to play with her, because I have caught Miss Deborah leaning into my fence like this and sticking her hand over. So again, he's not going to differentiate when she wants to play with him and when she doesn't. As a matter of fact, I did go to her maybe a week or two before the incident, and I told her that Memphis had got out, and if she had seen him, and she said no, she didn't see him, but that she was going to help me look for him. So Miss Deborah, for a person that's so afraid of my dog, got in her car and drove for over 30 minutes the neighborhood helping me look for my dog. Then came back. I told her that we saw him, that somebody brought him back to us. Actually, a smaller, older lady than her brought him back to us. And she said he walked right into her car, didn't bark, was not afraid, wasn't anything. That's how she was able to bring him back to me. And she said, and I thanked the lady, but then Miss Deborah, I told Miss Deborah, thank you for looking. We found him. She rubbed Memphis just like this and said, oh boy, don't do that again. You had us scared. We love you. She even said, we love you to my dog, which caught me by surprise because she barely has any interactions with us. And I told my husband, she just told Memphis she loves him, even though she doesn't even talk to us. I said, that's weird. I said, whatever, I didn't pay too much mind to it. Again, she can't pick and choose when she's going to have a relationship with my dog and then say that he attacked her. Dogs have memory. So again, Memphis is not an aggressive dog. If I knew the in-depth of this hearing, I would have gotten other neighbors in the area to come and testify, because she has called TJ O'Connor on them. She has called the cops on them as well for every little thing. And they all have had an interaction with Memphis and have said, and they have children, and they have said he is no danger dog. He's not a danger to the neighborhood. They're just as surprised as I am.
Thank you, Ms. Acevedo. At this point, I'm going to allow Ms. Place 5 minutes if you have anything to add.
Yes, I'm looking at a police call log dated April 11th, 2023, which everybody at the hearing was provided with. And can you read what it says here?
Caller said was attacked by a dog. Caller said this is the 3rd time.
Okay, and that was on April 11th, right? After
Yes.
the incident.
Yes,
You're telling them right then that's the 3rd time. This
Right.
wasn't.
right.
So she previously informed law enforcement that it was the 3rd time, but a reasonable person that wasn't hurt during the other 2 did not call the police. And this is not playing. This hurts. Did these bruises hurt?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
All right. So what we're looking for isn't 1, 2, and 5, but number 5, we're not looking for him to be publicly impounded, just an inspection of the fence to make sure it's secure. She's been attacked numerous amount of times, and it's consistent with the police call log on the evening saying there were 3 attacks.
Thank you.
May I say something? Sure. I have to disagree with Ms. Acevedo. I believe she was not like in her backyard. I believe she was at the door. I heard her calling the dog. I had stepped over to see if she was in her backyard. And that's when I said, you need to come and get your dog. That's all I said. The dog was attacking me. She did come and get the dog finally. Did not say anything to me except The dog did not bite you. It just jumped on you. And that's when I said to her, I'm calling animal control and I'm calling the police. Those were her exact words, and there is a video on that. I just want to make that clear.
Thank you.
And
right.
I felt bad that the dog was missing. I am a dog owner. I have had 3 dogs in my life. And I did honestly feel bad that the dog was missing. And I did look around the neighborhood for the dog. After that, I don't believe I said that. I never would say that I love the dog. So I just want to make that clear.
Thank you. Ms. Acevedo or Mr. Finney, if you have anything to add? You have an additional?
Yeah. Yes. I will say that if I were attacked 3 times by a dog, I wouldn't be going around the neighborhood looking for a dog, because what are you going to do? Come back and say, hey, I found your dog, because the dog already attacked you 3 times supposedly. What were you going to be able to do with that dog? It's not a question. It's just it's more of it's a rhetorical question. You know, what were you going to do? That doesn't make a lot of sense. And then also, you know, if I call the police and because I got robbed, and I say, hey, you know, I've gotten robbed and this is the 3rd time. If I didn't report it, that doesn't mean that it's factual that actually happened, because you told the police that it was a 3rd time, you know? So I definitely want to make that clear. I want to make that very clear. It doesn't really add up. It doesn't make a lot of sense. We are all, you know, normal people, you know, we all have common sense, and that really doesn't make a lot of sense. And then also to state, you know, that, you know, any indecent person, you know, if they weren't hurt, wouldn't call. I mean, what indecent person would call on a dog that's barking? So, you know, that it just doesn't make any sense, you know. I clearly understand what's going on. It's definitely, you know, it's definitely a lot of history built up. You know, the first interaction I've ever had with her was her walking onto my property to ask me to stop smoking on my property, you know? So she never liked us, you know, and this was a perfect opportunity for her to be able to essentially stick it to us, you know? So I understand what's going on, but I really do hope that there could be more investigation than just a he said, she said, because if she was present during this attack on the 11th, obviously, and my wife was present, she already said that my wife was present. I mean, how can her word be taken over my wife's word? When there was no other witnesses. So that's all I have to say.
Ms. Acevedo, do you have anything to add?
No, I don't. I do actually. When Memphis was starting to bark, I did go out into the yard. I did try to call him over, and then she did look at me and say, you need to control your dog. And then that's when he jumped over into her area after she had already spoken to me. He hadn't jumped over to her area yet. Yeah, I was there through the whole thing. So like I said, I had recently had surgery. That was the only reason why it took me a minute or so to go over, because I was in pain. I had to, do I break open my stitches and go through this fence and get him down, or can I try to call him down back over? And that's what I attempted at first. And when I noticed that because she was so loud and screaming, he kept thinking she was trying to play with him. I know she's saying that's not a form of play. I get that. But when you're screaming and he's attacking me, and he's such a playful dog, it was sending mixed signals to him. And that's all. So.
If
The fence is fixed. The fence is fixed. There is one small tiny corner that's not fixed that is getting fixed. He's doesn't have a way of escaping that tiny corner. And he's up to date on all his vaccines. He's licensed. He hasn't had any altercations or anything with anybody. So we work hard. We have 4 kids. We try to keep up with everything. It's not like we're being negligent when we're allowing him to run the neighborhood doing things. Like, that's not the type of people that we are. And I have parties, little barbecues. I have 4 kids. We have birthday parties at the house. Guests would have been attacked by incidents. So many things. Memphis has been in the house for a little bit over a year. He turned 1 in May. So, I feel like if he was an issue, other people would have complained and other incidents would have happened.
Yeah, I do want to quickly add that anytime that he is outside now, ever since this incident, if we don't have eyes on him, we now have a leash that is dug very deep in the ground. He cannot get off of it, and if he's unattended, he's attached to that leash.
Thank you. At this time, I'm going to ask any of the committee members if they have questions of either participant, and if so, if you can direct it to the person.
Hello, yeah,
State your name again so that.
Veronica Johns. I'm one of the committee members. Is he neutered? I seem to have missed that. I can't hear everybody talking, but I'm just wondering if he's neutered.
No, he is not.
Okay. I am not going by really anybody's word. I'm going by what we saw. We got a video. We have the pictures of the fence. That is not very responsible, having that size dog, not fixing the fence. You could put a wire fence up and make it more secure for your dog's safety. He is a puppy. He is playing, screaming and raising your arms makes it worse. But I'm going by what I visually saw. So just to make that clear, it's not anybody. She could be seeking a lot more damages, and not because he was aggressive and bit her, but because he caused damage just by his size and jumping all over her. So I think that's, just know my decision will be based on what I am seeing with the dog. The dog should have been socialized as a puppy. So he should have been in classes so he'd know that what's appropriate behavior and what's not. But that's the way I train people. So, and their dogs. Okay, I think, other than voting, I'm willing to hear what anybody else says.
Does anyone else have?
Well, we had no idea that the fence was broken until he actually got through the fence. The fence wasn't in bad. The fence wasn't in bad shape.
You can mute
him. Yeah, unless, and I'm just going to say to the president here as well, unless they directly ask a question and you have a direct answer, we don't want you to elaborate on stuff that you've already said, please. So if Veronica, if any of the other committee members has any questions or has anything to add or ask. No.
We just when we start deliberating.
Yeah, and just for the record, the counsel for Ms. Place mentioned the sections of the ordinance that they're looking for the committee to vote on. And as an aside, I just want to as the dog owners, I want to let you all know that part of the ordinance does state that nuisance behavior does include barking, even if it's the dog is on your side of the fence. Part of the behavior is that any barking, whining, or howling or other noises that are within 100 feet of the building And if it has happened for over 10 minutes, so if someone calls on someone else, if they call the police or they call TJO on what they consider nuisance behavior, that does include barking, even though, you know, it's reasonable to expect that dogs do bark. And that if they're on your property, it shouldn't bother your neighbors. And it's something that can't be settled through a conversation with your neighbors. Sometimes neighbors do call on each other based on a dog's barking. And just so that you all know, so everyone is on the same page as to what the conditions that are being asked are. I'm going to read them in the record. They ask for condition 1, which is that the dog be humanely restrained. Number 2, which is that the dog be confined to the premises of the owner of the dog, provided however that confined shall mean securely confined indoors or confined outdoors in a securely enclosed or locked pen or dog run area upon the premises of the owner, provided however that the confinement shall comply with chapter 110 subsection 8 of this chapter. And then the last one being that number 5, which is that the owner construct within 2 weeks from the date of decision a secure enclosure to the house to house the dog when it is in the owner's yard. We, as the committee, may order that during the construction period, the dog be publicly impounded, but as you heard, council said that they're not asking for an impoundment. The effectiveness of the secure enclosure shall be subject to the approval and periodic inspections of the animal control officer as deemed necessary. And then there is a $75 inspection fee that's associated with that. If there is a violation of this, it would be a $200 a day fee as well. And what I'd like to ask the committee members now, if there's any deliberations or if anyone wants to make a motion on whether or not this dog should be considered a nuisance, and if any of the conditions that I just read into the record are recommended. So if anyone wants to.
Or any other.
Or any other that,
Anything else
yeah.
that's requested by.
Well, I can make the motion and regardless of the, I appreciate the testimony from both sides. To kind of echo what Veronica said, we have a video and we can see the dog actually making contact with somebody. The victim doesn't, or the defendants don't get to decide what the victim's feelings or where it occurred on their property and whether it was attacked or whatever. So what the definition of that is, at least not in my opinion, it's pretty clear cut. This incident occurred on her property. The fence may have been fixed, but the issue for me, because moving forward is that the fence isn't in good condition to start with. They've admitted that there was still another smaller hole, but it's not large enough for the dog to get through, which makes her dog at risk for going onto their property. If she has a Shih Tzu, is it big enough for the Shih Tzu to get through? The real issue for me, I guess, is that I'm assuming that whoever owns the fence should fix the fence. And if it's the defendants that own the fence, then they should fix it. If it was the plaintiff who owned the fence, then she should fix her responsibility because they are abutting neighbors. So somebody needs to fix the fence. So my motion is to invoke the deemed dog nuisance and to invoke the conditions as requested by the plaintiffs.
Is there a second?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Yeah, Veronica, just so that I know you're having maybe a little trouble with the audio. If you can, if I'm gonna have Councilor Edwards repeat that motion again.
My motion is for the dog to be deemed a nuisance and the conditions as requested by the plaintiff be approved.
The conditions, I missed the conditions. I'm sorry, Counselor.
No, it's okay. I'll repeat it. She said, the counselor said the conditions that have been put forward, which is 1, that the dog be humanely restrained. 2, that the dog be confined to the premises of the owner, whether it be outside or confined inside. And then number 5, that a pen of some sort or an enclosure be constructed within 2 weeks of the decision made.
May I clarify is simply the motion for me is that the fence be replaced. Typically, if this dog had been deemed a dangerous dog, we could have requested a kennel with, I believe, just dug down 2 to 3 feet into the ground with a top on it, fence. That's not what we're requesting. We're just simply requesting that the owners of the fence and property replace the fence, because the fence is, if you fix the hole, you haven't fixed the fence completely enough to where if it wet, as the defendant said, it gets wet, it gets soft, big dog, what keeps it from happening again? Testimony was given by the defendant that there's still another smaller hole, but it's not an issue because their dog can't get through. That suggests that this fence needs to be replaced. And that's part of my motion, is that fence be replaced. And that would be that part of the conditions.
My request was also for inspection.
Oh,
Make sure
it's-
Yeah. Five.
So, I mean, I know I'm not correct, no.
Yeah, sure.
We've inspected secure enclosures, but we're not fence inspectors.
You
So I-
you just simply would be showing up, they would, but the $75 fee would pay for your time to come out. And they would have to have a fence, they can do it themselves, they can go Home Depot. There's several reputable fence companies I can recommend, but they would just replace the fence within the 2-week period. And then you would, once it's done, you would go out, the fence is done, case is filed away.
The permits will get a security culture.
Yes.
Yeah, that's all you're saying.
Just because, I mean, like, I don't know any of that.
Yeah.
You look at a fence and say, yes,
That's all, it's all
You can get out.
common sense kind
Yeah.
of,
Visual person.
Yeah, so just to reiterate, it's the 1 and 2, which I mentioned, and it's the motion that the fence be replaced by the owner and for TJO to do a subsequent inspection of the fence to deem it that it's secure so the dog can be safely enclosed. So do I have a second on that motion?
I second that the dog definitely should be considered a nuisance. The fence definitely needs to be replaced. They can put a double guard, getting a less expensive wire fence to put on the inside, or put another fence up on the inside from the fence that's there, a new one that is solid. The other thing is not to depend on tethering a dog, because that can make a dog more aggressive. So not to tether him, not to have him out unless you're with him, and get him neutered and classes. Those,
So Brian, those are two different conversations, but we're asking, do you second the motion made by Counselor Edwards?
yes,
Okay,
but I added some, is that okay?
no, because you're creating a new motion.
Okay,
And so if you second his motion, I'll put that into the record, which is 1 and 2, and then the fence.
yes,
However, Mr. Finney and Ms. Acevedo deem that that is possible, whether it's wood, however that happens. So a
I think,
secure enclosure. Yes.
I believe Veronica's suggestions are appropriate,
Yes,
but they should be made as a suggestion, not as
Not
part
as
of
a-
the record. So whether they choose to do those things, I think as a trainer and with her experience with training dogs and working with families, the defendants might want to appreciate what she's suggesting, that the dog not be tethered, because that can make things worse for a dog. And the conditions or the things she's suggesting should just be listed as something that, as the owners of the dog, might be beneficial to you to incorporate. But the motion as I made and as Veronica's second would be what would mirror what the language of the ordinance allows. Am I correct?
Yes,
Attorney?
yes. Yes.
okay, so at this time, we're going to take a vote on the motion, starting with Counselor Edwards.
Yes.
Yes. Officer Fleming's absent. Veronica Johns,
yes,
yes. Megan Landry,
No to deem the dog nuisance, but yes to repair the fence or replace it.
it's all part of one motion, so unless, yeah,
Mayor?
yes, go ahead.
Megan, the deeming of the dog as a nuisance is required for the conditions to be in place. So you can't say that the dog's not a nuisance and then have a legal standing to force them to fix the fence.
Thank you, Councilman.
And just as a point of record as well, the dog is not gonna be permanently a nuisance, right? So the dog is listed as a nuisance, but then at any point, Mr. Finney and Ms. Acevedo have the right to actually appeal that decision. They can ask for that to the dog to,
36 months.
yeah, so within, say that again?
36 months.
36 months to appeal the decision. It's not a lifetime brand on the dog, so to speak. If that helps, Megan.
I still don't think the dog is a nuisance. Sorry.
Okay, so then you're a no vote?
Yes.
Okay, and then I am a yes. And so the motion passes. And at this point, so that Ms. Acevedo, who's still on, no, there will be minutes from this meeting and follow-up from our office based on the decision, as well as follow-up from TJ O'Connor and Mr. Finney. I'm sorry, I didn't see you there, and Mr. Finney. Okay, if there's no other items, I'm gonna call the meeting to a close and thank you all for your participation today. Thank you.
Thank you.